Welcome to DevReady Podcast, where we're helping non-techs build better tech. Today, we're joined by Sam. He's the CEO of DNA. Sam, thanks for joining us, mate. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
No worries. It's good to be here. It's good to see a bunch of guys smiling on a Tuesday.
They're always got a smile on a Tuesday.
It goes away on a Wednesday and a Thursday.
So, Sam, tell us about how you got into tech. So, how did it all start for you?
I'm a Greek boy. My dad, I asked him to buy me an Apple II when I was 14 or 13, and then started doing stupid things with that. First bulletin boards before there was the internet. Set up a bulletin board with a whole bunch of modems into the house.
Oh, nice.
And then met a whole bunch of people out of that and started doing stupid things with games and then graduated to my own. I think it was a Windows machine, not an Asus. It was before Asus. And then from there went to uni, studied at La Trobe, did a computer science degree and applied maths.
La Trobe Uni. That's where we're all from too.
Yeah. So actually, I'm going back there tomorrow. They've asked me to come back and help them on the board to organise their content and how they get people together, which is really a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun. I then became a graduate at ANZ. So I went straight from uni into ANZ. I stayed with ANZ for 11 years and had awesome fun. So I travelled all the world. Back then ANZ was all over the world, in the US, UK. I think they're still there now, but not as diverse as they were. Then went to India. They seconded me to India, did some work over there. Came back. They said I wasn't a business person enough. I needed to become more of a business person. So I went and did an MBA at Melbourne Uni. Finished that in 2000, and I met a guy there, and one of my lecturers, and he said to me, "You're going to be with ANZ for the rest of your life." And I went, "No, I'm going to go do everything on my own." He was an entrepreneurial teacher or lecturer. And 4 weeks later, I left ANZ just before Y2K. I just walked out, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no plan. I had nothing.
Spur of the moment, just walk out the door.
Out of all these books, that they taught me that if I used these books, I'd set up a business and it'd go awesome.
How'd that go for you, Sam?
It's still working on it.
It's always work in progress, isn't it?
I think you got to keep kicking the can down the road. That's what I keep saying to people. You keep kicking the can down the road. Doesn't matter what happens. Don't stop. Yeah. So today we have a company called Core DNA, which has a enterprise cloud platform, 3 products, e-commerce product for the enterprise, a CMS product, and a workflow automation and low-code system. Launched that in the US in 2015. So grabbed the family, moved to Boston, and took a 6-year-old daughter, and we basically bunked out in Boston and started selling one-to-one into the US market. Today, about 60% of our revenue comes out of the US and Europe, and about 40%, but most of the growth is coming out of overseas, not so much in Australia.
On that note, how do you manage that? So you've got teams set up offshore?
Yeah.
How do you structure
in terms of the devs, we have a follow the sun. So we have a group. Actually, we have a couple in the Ukraine, a couple in Serbia. So that's our offshore, kind of as much offshore as we'll do. And then we have our product in Germany, in Berlin. And then we have people, basically tech support and sales and marketing in America, and the core dev team is here in Melbourne. So, all the sort of major dev stuff happens here.
Happens here in Melbourne. Yeah, very nice. Yeah. How many clients do you have on the platform at the moment?
So, about 150.
Yeah.
But their sort of entry for the product is $1,250, and the largest client pays us over $30,000 a month.
So significant numbers in terms of investment.
Enterprise client.
Yeah, they're basically, the product's $1,250 a month starting. Everyone says, "Oh, how can you compete?" And I'm like, "You have to compare apples with apples." And
of course,
when you do that, you understand that it's actually quite cheap. A lot of people don't realise that.
Okay.
Oh, if they're comparing to like a $10 a month Shopify entry level for your e-commerce product, or free WordPress for your CMS, I'm guessing, is what happens.
We had a large company come off Shopify Plus, and they were like, we're on Shopify Plus, how does this compare? I go, well, how many plugins do you have? And they go, oh, about 30. And I said, how many fail? And they said, oh, all the time.
All the time. Mm-hmm.
I go, okay, what's your business worth a year? Tens of millions. I go, okay. Well, you decide whether or not you want to stay on that platform or you want to hang it. And we sort of win that. We win legacy installs, so people coming off enterprise platforms that are old school. So this is a modern framework and modern approach. And, a lot of the old stuff, they just can't move fast enough. Like they just move really slow. Whereas if I wanted to, I'd get a site up with content within 2 days and pretty feature rich and all the things you might want.
So what's the core of the product? Is it generally clients take the e-com and CMS?
Most clients. So we have two camps. We have one camp that are complex CMSs, so 20 plus websites, and they want to share content, they want personalized experiences, they want complex integrations into other systems. And then we have sort of the mid-market to enterprise e-com who want to be able to do lots of content. I mean, again, the content engines on most e-commerce platforms are pretty bad. And, now they're starting to bunker up with headless platforms and they're all going, oh, we've got the new way to do stuff. Mm-hmm. Awesome. And most marketers are pulling their hair out because it's gone back to 2002. And,
25 steps back. Yes.
Well, yeah, it's back to those days where, when the internet first started, all the developers were basically the bottleneck. If you wanted something changed, something updated, you talk to the dev guy. Now, what have they done? They've turned on headless for non-headless applications. When someone just wants a blog, they don't want it to be headless. What's the point?
They just need it to work.
Exactly. And so they end up with these dev teams who are, no issue with React or any of those platforms, but they're much harder for people to kind of manage and do things with, and hard to find resources and all those wonderful things.
You mentioned workflow systems too. Tell us a bit about that. Is that more workflow content?
One of the biggest challenges we found over sort of 20 years of building technology for people, or building sites pretty much, was all the integrations and getting content from one place and fixing it and bringing it into another place. And we used to custom build all that stuff. And then one day, one of my techs said, what if we could low code it? And I said, okay, what would that look like? And it's like a Zapier, but it's in the platform. And so it will talk to any events that happen inside the platform, but then it'll talk to events that happen that are pushed on it from outside the platform.
So if something's updated here, send it to there or equivalent.
So couple examples, if we want to run, so we have all the caching and all that kind of stuff built in, but we might want to send data. Someone registers, instead of having the registration process built into the interactive script, what we'll do is the registration process will just accept the registration, and then there'll be a worker that goes off and pulls all the information. It gets alerted, and then it might send it to the CRM. It might then send it to the ERP. It might work on it, send some messages off to the client. So it can do quite complex stuff, and it's great for whenever we get a new customer and they've got a black box that no one knows about and they can only do CSVs. We go, okay, we'll export the CSVs, we'll write a script, and we'll write a low-code sort of workflow, and we'll bring that in. And that's kind of it's a really interesting area that we're working on, where most of the site work now just happens in that area, like all the sort of nuances of the site.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so more customization and integrations happen in there.
No, we don't do any anymore. So Code, once upon a time, we would always go, oh, Andrew wants this feature that we don't have. We'd be like, all right, well, let's go write a piece
It's
of
going
code.
to be to build that, yeah.
If Andrew...
If Andrew logs in, yes. Put this button here, yeah.
And then Andrew leaves, and there's this if Andrew code, and someone finds it, and we all go, what happened there?
Who's Andrew? Why is this here?
So, yeah, it's all pretty much clean, vanilla, highly configurable, and scalable. So we recently were involved you guys got kids?
Yeah.
Yep, there were 3 boys. He's got a boy and a girl.
Okay, well, the girl probably wants to go to Taylor Swift.
At some point, yeah.
So there was a big chaos over Taylor Swift because last year Ticketek went down in the US. And so we look after the client that brought Taylor Swift out. So we needed to scale for, 1.5 million concurrents, all within 5 minutes. So how do you do that? You basically look at your system and you go, okay, everything has to be static. And then if it's not static, only this little bit has to be non-static, and and how to scale it and how to downscale it. And we've had to deal with some difficult problems, which I'm sure you guys have too.
Oh, we all do. How did you get into this space of building CMSs and Equal? How did you enter it? Because there's always
there's a story for that.
Yeah.
So I finished my MBA, and my business partner says to me, "We should start a business." And I went, "Yeah, you're right." And I'm not going to stay at ANZ forever, even though I probably could have stayed there and had a great life. Why don't I just punish myself? So as an entrepreneur, I think we like whipping ourselves. Come on, let's go do something really hard. And so we sort of started talking about it. We didn't have any plan. And then we're talking to Sophie's husband. He says, listen, we run shopping centres. And we said, oh, shopping centres, I know. We can put the internet in there because Wi-Fi never existed, right? Don't look now, but circa 2000, Wi-Fi was like, really? And so we thought we would Wi-Fi the shopping centres, connect all the retailers up to the internet, provide portals for the shopping centres. So we went and pitched it, and they loved it. And we said, okay, great. So we started selling telephony and data services to the retailers. And that was what I call a no-love business. So I have this saying, businesses are 2 types. They're either love or hate, right? Or no love. Like anyone that's in telco, a la Optus, they're not in the love game. They're in the hate game. Everyone's ringing up again. My phone doesn't work. No one's ever ringing Optus previously and going, thank you, my 5G was really good. And then there's love businesses, when, your broker gives you a great deal on your financing and you get it through, you take your broker out to lunch and you go, thanks, man, you really looked after me, or, your real estate agent or whatever you might be. There's always those love businesses that you go, that was really awesome. And so telephony and data was not a love business. All we had was complaints and, my phone doesn't work. I don't know how to use it. However, we started building software for the shopping centres. And because we're only a small team, I designed it as a SaaS platform before SaaS was SaaS. I've done some work inside ANZ and said to them, this thing that the internet, it's going to create this world where systems are going to talk to each other and they're not even going to be in the same country. And so we used that as our first prototype. I got some guys from Melbourne Uni.
Yep.
We built one feature, which was basically a CMS. And at that time, there were only really custom CMSs. And so we built that, sold it to the shopping centre guys. They started using it. Oh, and by the way, it had to be multi-tenant because we were lazy and we couldn't deal with lots of shopping centres. So it automatically had multi-tenancy and so on and so on. And that's how it
all started. So from a phone telephony business, setting up internet through to the CMS.
And then what we did was, we bailed out on the phone business because there was no margins in it. And we started building sites as an agency, but only using our platform. And then that paid for development. And next thing you know, we've got 80 modules at the time. And, we could do everything from surveys to... And then my team were telling me we just got too much. we got way too much stuff. We can't tell people what we do. And so in 2014, we decided to rewrite the whole system.
So stuff from scratch.
And we launched a brand new platform called DXP2 into the US. And at the time, I remember it was back to pages. And nowadays, we're about to migrate ecom to DXP2. We're still running DXP1 ecom because it's so good. And so, it's a lot of hard work.
It all starts from somewhere, doesn't it? And we learn across the journey. I think it's important for people to understand, especially if they're starting out in anything. It's always going to change, and you're going to follow. You should listen to what your customers need and want.
Yeah, I don't build anything until my customer asks for it. I think the problem that I see today is people build systems, there's thousands of SaaS platforms out there, and everyone says, "Oh, Sam, you're a monolith." And I'm like, what does that mean? Well, my system only does this one thing and it does it really well. And I go, well, most people don't use 80% of what you've done in that one really good system. They only use the 20%. And if you'd ask them, they would
you wouldn't have to build all that stuff.
We only want the 20%. So building the 20% is easy. Putting it all together and making it talk and giving a user experience that works, I think, is the hard bit.
Yeah, that's definitely the hard part. It's making something look simple.
And it's not. So that's kind of the story so far.
That's a fascinating story. So started at ANZ, went to India. I think you mentioned for 3 years off course.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about that experience. What was that like, going over to an offshore
I was young,
sort of world?
So and I land in Bombay. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. There's 100,000 people waiting for me at the airport. It felt that way. Like everyone was
Sam's here.
3 a.m. in the morning. Sam's here, and then there's this one white guy holding a tinny in a cooler with a white t-shirt on, and he's my go-to man while I'm over there. And I'm like, okay. So I said, we've got Western food, and at the time there was nothing.
There would have been none at all over there.
Yeah, it was 30 years ago. You said
none of the things that Westerners have. Now that's changed dramatically, but it was amazing. It's an amazing country. It's amazing how it works. I love the whole. If you kind of sit and understand it, the way their culture works is amazing. Their food's awesome. Everyone thinks, it's spicy, but it's not all. It's many different things. And it was at the start of the tech boom over there. So Bangalore didn't even have proper electricity. The lights would go out at 8 o'clock at night, and generators would come on. And we put an AS400 in there, which is, I think, before your time. But a lot of the guys with grey hair will know what an AS400 is. And one of the VPN connections, one of the connections got eaten by some rats, so we lost connections. Like, it was
just random stuff. Yeah, you don't expect, you'll never get in Australia. Just this random stuff.
The machine arrived on the back of the truck. It's 40 degrees, and there's these 6 guys with it on their heads, holding it like this.
Oh my god!
And they're like, it's a $2 million machine.
Oh,
I'm thinking, it's taken us 6 months to get this machine here.
Please don't drop the bloody thing.
the last mile, it falls over.
Yeah. And, it fell over. Do you think it'll work? Oh, no.
Well, let's hope so.
Well, that was fun. And I think, people ask all the time about India, but I think the US, for me, was more of a cultural change.
Was it?
Yeah.
Seriously? Yeah.
Yeah, because everyone...
Yeah. In what way?
Well, everyone goes to the US and thinks that the US is exactly like us, and it's not. It's nothing like us. So everyone you talk to, man, I want to launch into the US, and there's 350 million people, can't wait, all the sales I'm going to make. Yeah.
If only if they're easy, right, Sam?
350 million people means 30 million or 35 times the competition. And it's cluttered. It's noisy. Everyone's got angles. No one's going home at 5:30 every day. Everyone's there until 9, 10, working, like trying to make it happen, because their ideology is very different. They're like, although they're getting into balance, but there's parts of the US that there's no balance.
No such thing as balance.
Yeah, you hear a lot of stories out of California and New York.
Yeah, they're two diametrically opposed cities in the world. Like,
they run very similar though.
Yeah, but the people are very different. So it depends on who you deal with. So the first thing is the East Coast, they're all fairly much the same until you get down to Florida, which changes again. Then you got your Midwest, sort of that middle area there, and then you got the West Coast, and they're also very different. So kind of where do you go? Where do you start up? You position yourself. A lot of people, we went to Boston, a lot of people in Massachusetts don't have a passport, right?
Yeah, just stay there, never leave.
Some of them never left the western part of Mass. They've never left it. Like they live in this bubble, and going to Boston is like we went there once in our lives. Like it's very different.
How did you find
I was going to say, with the languages, was it a big shock just hearing that Boston accent all the time?
You get used to it. I started having it in my daughter. I've got a recording of my daughter on my parents' voicemail, and you hear her going, "Hello, you from the Saltis house?" Like it's very American, and now she doesn't sound American, but you get used to it. I think things you don't get used to are probably you're sort of living a little bit of fear, because you might live in this really cool part of the city, and then a couple blocks down, there's murders and gambling stuff and all the rest of it. But Boston was very safe. I chose Boston because of that. Like I went to Dallas, and the guy picks me up and he had guns. Like
that's a good sign.
All day life, isn't it?
Hat on, guns. I'm like, are they real? Because I thought it was, imagine seeing someone like with a holster and
just putting it on for show.
Not normal, is it? It doesn't feel normal.
It's a dress. It's not a fancy. It's not legitimately running around with guns. And you go into buildings and it says no hidden guns. Like they've got this sort of, you can't have anything.
Concealed carry.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow. Does that mean you can still carry guns? And the guy goes, yeah.
Yeah, just got to show them.
I'll be concealed.
That's okay then. Yeah, as long as people can see you got a gun, it's better.
Yeah. And business is different, very, very different. Like the way...
in what way?
They just win at all costs. There's no win-win. It's win-lose. Like win at all costs. It's like I'm going to destroy my competition. Like it's. I'm like, I actually like my competition. I think it helps me. Like
helps you learn, helps you grow, helps you be better. Like there's a lot there.
Yeah, they have a very, very. It's very, very. I thought I was a capitalist until I went to the States. I actually realized I don't like it. I like helping people that need help. I want to make sure our elderly are looked after. I want to make sure our youngsters are looked after. Over there, it's like, if you make money, you can have anything. If you don't have money, you pretty much have nothing.
Yeah, put nothing over there. What made you decide to go over there? What was the calling card? Was it a client call out, or was it just like we have to go to the US, or what was it?
The agency here, so the agency was called Be Wide prior to Cordiane, and the agency had gotten, I think we'd gotten to about 50 people, and it's all the ups and downs. You guys know this world.
Yeah, we're a delivery, we're an agency effectively, no text based. Yes.
So, when things are good, things are really good, and when things are sort of slow and soft, you're now looking at, I've got to get rid of this person, or I've got to downsize, and so I'd gotten to that point, and I'm a mad developer. Like I love developing. I'm still a geek at heart. Like my current role, as much as I'm a CEO, I pretty much love just coding for fun.
You're still a coder for fun, like Anthony over there.
That's my job.
I feel like getting my hands dirty, right? And most people are like, but you've got a team. I'm like, yeah, but it's like a meditation for me. I get in a zone and I might build something that I want or I want to play with. And so I just found I wasn't having fun. I felt like I was just dealing with either client issues or people issues, and I thought I didn't get into this for that. And so I wanted to let the baby have a life, and literally that's what I've done. Because it was, if I'd launched it probably 20 years ago as a product company, I probably couldn't have done it because you need services to pay for revenue until your ARR crosses that, what I call ARR parity. And that happened for us literally 6 months ago, where we don't have to sell another client. We can just run with our subscription revenue. So
it's a great place to be. It takes, how long did it take you to get there? So people get context of this.
So when we entered into Core DNA, so we really focused on the platform as a product. We started at 2016. So before that, we were more services than products. So we were undersell the product. Like our first client paid us $70 a month. And we thought that was like, oh my God, they paid us for this software.
Yes, we've got something.
It's a big difference to where you're at now.
Yeah, very big. And that client's still with us. I think they pay $100 a month now, but I still kind of grandfather them in because I'm happy. They were my first client. We knocked on the door. We said, and they're a medical practice in Brunswick, and we said, "Hey, would you like a website?" And they said, "Yes." And I said, "Okay, good. Let's go." So you haven't got enough revenue, and then what happens is when you say you're going to become a product, all of a sudden those big chunks of revenue start going away. You start giving those to partners, and you're like, oh, and then your revenue starts dropping, and then you're putting money in, and you have COVID, and then you start dropping clients, and you come out the other end.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic going to full product. We're in the middle of doing something like that ourselves.
I'm in my 8 year. What is it? 2016 now, so we're
almost 8 years.
8 year.
Yeah,
and people said, "Oh, if you'd taken VC money, you would have been there much faster." And it's true.
It's true, but it's different, right?
Yeah, then I have to play with their playbook. I'm not interested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not interested in that. It depends where you're at and what type of product you're running and where you position yourself and what you're interested in. Taking VC money is a different game.
Look, some people don't have a choice. I was lucky enough to sell service and product, and I would do it the same way. Like nowadays, if someone came to me and said, "I've got this really cool product," I'd say, "Go find a customer," and then say, "Once you and not your friend. Your friends are not. All my friends thought my software was awesome. It was until some stranger that never seen my
just actually paid for it. Yeah,
paid for it. And now when you go into a tender, I don't like tenders in Australia. I'm just going to put that on the record.
Never won any. We applied for a couple.
I don't like the process here. Whatever I've been exposed to, I do not like it.
Yeah, they're like, at least in the States, they're very transparent. So I've got a strategy for you. If you're going to go apply for a tender, you're going to say, what's the process? Mm-hmm. Do we get to demo? Do we get to speak to you? Do we get feedback on our proposal? Do we get all these things that would then indicate that they're serious about you? Because doing a blind tender and then just getting, "Oh, sorry, you weren't successful." We did one recently, and it still hurts me. We on their scoring system, we were like in the top 10 percentile because everything was out of the box. Mm-hmm. We did a proof of concept. We actually built a site with their content.
Yep,
we could. It was very easy, and we put the tender in a week in advance. And there were 6 people, and we didn't make it. And we were like, "Why?" And the waffle that came back was like, "Oh, you didn't understand us culturally, waffle." I'm like, where was that in the tender?
Yeah, it's classic.
Anyway, whereas in the States and in Europe, and it's much more stringent because people don't apply anymore if it's not an open playing field. Anyway, side issue.
Good feedback, side issue. What's the plan? Where to from here for you?
So, good question. So I'm 56. I'm not getting any younger, and I'm going to start putting back in, helping, and so I've got this thing I was speaking about today. I call it the 732, which is 7 months of work, 3 months of giving back, and 2 months of doing nothing. And the first step is I'm just about to give some free desk space to some startups in the tech space and give them the opportunity to work in my office, be around other entrepreneurs and get help in growing their business. So I want to do that. That's going to be one thing. In terms of the software, we're at the point now where it's got some momentum, and we're now starting to do a little more in terms of better marketing, better positioning, better messaging. And we're going to start up, I've been test driving a partner program with a couple local companies that are friendly. And what I'm doing with them is I'm going to switch the model. So rather than being a CapEx driven model where you build a website, you pay me up front, you pay for whatever I do, you can do an OpEx where we'll give you a website, or not we, the partner will give you a website but you're paying more for the services and the website all as a bundle. I think that's a interesting play. Not many people are doing it, and be able to have a client that stays with you for 3 years, but you're really working on their results rather than technology. Like a lot, and no offense to you guys, but a lot of your revenue comes from people updating their technology. And so my view is that that's moving. You've got things like some of the new platforms that are coming out, or I forget the name, where people can drag and drop and create pages and
like Bubble and those other no-code tools.
What's the W?
Wix.
Yeah,
Wix and Squarespace.
Wix is getting there. It's starting to do AI, and some of those low-end platforms are really getting there. So we'll stick to the hard stuff. Like our goal is really more all the difficult. Like when someone's got lots of assets, they've got complex integrations, we'll be there for that. And we'll do that with a common platform that is scalable and all those wonderful things. So, all the security stuff built in and so on. So
it's really that enterprise offering, really.
Enterprise offering. The enterprise is so huge. I mean, they were saying SME stops at 2 billion in revenue. It's like, what?
Stops. Yeah, wow.
It's a very small business.
Whereas in Australia, 2 billion are dealing with the government.
Yeah, correct. A different world in Australia. Figured about overseas. Yeah.
But I'm bringing all the software back in terms of, I'm going to set this up as a real tech hub. I really believe that we have lots of good talent. So I've just recruited my first 2 grads, and they're amazing. I'm going to do another 2 next year.
Nice.
Because I think we've lost. When I first started, grads were like really cool, and then something happened. I don't know, like they've gotten a bad name because a lot of grads are just job hopping. You get into 5 years, they come to you, I've got 5 years experience in 7 companies, and you go, well, I don't know if you've got 5 years of experience. But now I'm seeing a new type of grad appearing that really wants to get stuck in and do innovation and really challenge themselves. So I'm going to work on that.
We started our business with a lot of grads. That's how we started. And they stayed with us for years. But we also stopped doing that because probably similar.
Because we then thought, I need a senior guy because I need to bring experience. Well,
that's the mindset changes a little bit, and you go, okay.
Also, as we scaled, we couldn't sit with them and help them as much. So we needed a bit more autonomy as people came in, not just educating them and babysitting them through the way, if that makes sense.
I just think what I've said, and my team said exactly that. They said, who's going to train these guys? Who's going to do this? Who's going to that? If you get the right grad, they don't need training anymore. Your documentation is really good. You've got AI now, so we're building a worker at the moment that's going to go through all our documentation, all our code that we have on the repo. So it's going to go and read all the repo, and then it will be able to tell you, hey, I want to build a blog post. How do I do it? And out will come a sample. I think AI is going to change a lot of that difficulty.
Definitely.
But you need the right attitude. You see these guys, if they've got a problem, they don't rush to senior devs. They try and work that out first and then go. And I think you got to test them. Like online testing, really important for me. Like we'll take anyone on. If someone does our online test and performs well, we'll take them, or at least interview them. Whereas previously we used to just listen to what they said, and if you're not prepared to do our test, we don't want to talk to you, no matter who you are.
So you run through like a code testing
process?
It's
full on. It's like 4 or 5 hours.
That's okay. Well, that's a commitment, if they're really willing to come in.
My Russian product guy,
he put it together, did he? Good luck. Let's go try it.
I'll probably fail, man.
I would fail it. He always gives me shit about, coding's different nowadays, man. It was, shut up. When you make as much revenue on your product as I have, come and talk to me, So
I like it.
I'm always giving them. So I don't know. That's kind of where we're going. I think we're going to start hammering a few of the old dinosaurs. We do really well against some of the old dinosaurs that are still peddling, monolithic stuff. I think we're going to have a real crack at some of the WordPress environments that are just proliferating, and people are like, "Oh, I've got Bob that looks after it," and Bob has no idea. There's no documentation, so I think there's a bit of fun there to be had. And I don't know, like I've got this company at the moment I'm waiting out of Sweden, so that'll be our first Swedish client. I'm like,
that's exciting. Someone new, it's new, right? Anything new is always exciting.
It's going to have its own challenges, things to work through.
Well, I figure I can go visit them, you know. Like,
exactly.
I don't know. Look, I think the software game in Australia is still very strong. Mm-hmm. I just think we have to believe in ourselves. You know, people say to me, "Oh, it's so hard to go into the US." It's not. You just got to be prepared to go hard and not get any results for a while. Like, it took me a year and $500,000 lost to get a first client.
Yeah, significant investment, isn't it?
Right, and that
doesn't come overnight.
And in the meantime, my business here was going south because I put a CEO in place. That didn't work. It's the usual story. And then you go, okay, well, what do we have to do to move forward? How do we do payroll? And, you know, the usual stories that
every business goes through. Nothing changes. Everyone you speak to is always the same story.
I'm an overnight success. It's
25 years. That's a classic story, Sam. It's a really good story. I think it's good for people to hear and listen to as to an approach, because there's definitely many approaches to the world of business, and the way you've done it is you've invested back in yourself along the journey and spent the time to actually understand what customers need, want, desire, really dig in and just go through that heartache, because there's plenty of years of heartache that occurs.
And believed in yourself to push
back
to that.
Wife, I will tell you, you need a wife that
supports.
Yeah.
You do.
My wife packed the house up in 6 weeks, and we were 4 suitcases in Boston in winter, heading into winter. Yeah. We didn't have a house. Couldn't get a credit card.
No credit over there because you just
nothing. I didn't have a credit rating, so I had to put cash out of Australia all the time. So, there are challenges. However, I always face it as a bit of fun. You know, it's part of the game.
Yeah.
But now as I get older, I have a no dickhead policy. So, I don't care who you are, if you're a dickhead, I'm not interested.
Yeah,
so,
I like it.
That's a good one to live by.
That changes things a bit, and I like hanging out with people that I find interesting. If you're, doesn't matter what you've done. If you're interesting, I want to hang out. And I think I'll be doing a bit more of that. I'll open up the office more to people to hang out here, and I have these group, I want to say it loud, I've got a group called the Orphans that are entrepreneurs that are sort of solid entrepreneurs, or have two or three people that want to work in a large group, and they hang out here, and we share ideas and stuff like that. But I think that's I'll get involved more and more in some of that stuff. I think in terms of the CMS market, there's a lot of change going on at the moment. I think AI is going to play a big role in a lot of things we do.
In every industry right now, every industry and every piece of tech's getting impacted.
I just saw something the other day and I was like, that just ruins a whole bunch of services industries gone. The guy was doing a yoga pose, you guys might have seen it, in front of his computer. And he says to the AI, am I doing my yoga pose correctly? And the AI goes, no, you need to bring your leg in a little bit.
Oh, well, okay.
That's interesting.
So that application, who knows where it can be used now? Look, once someone gets the idea.
That's primitive, right? Like it's reading images, it's not reading video. But it starts being able to deal with video, and I mean, who knows where it's going to go? And I don't know. Like, I'm scared for that. And I've been in this industry for nearly 40 years, right? So and I
think you need to embrace it and take, like everything else, it's new tech. We need to embrace it. That's the reality. Otherwise, what are you going to do?
Otherwise, you'll do what we did in 2010. The iPad's coming. Who the hell's going to buy a 10-inch iPhone?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we said.
Write it off. It's a rubbish.
There's a funny story that a guy called John Oliver, who's a US commentator. If you look him up on YouTube, you'll see some of this stuff. But he was giving it to one of the consulting companies last night, and they advised AT&T not to use the mobile phones. They reckon 900,000 people by the year 2000 would have mobile phones, or some ridiculous number.
Yeah.
And it ended up being like 70 million.
You got terrible advice.
You
Yeah.
paid millions for it.
Yeah.
It wasn't Bain, it was one of the other ones. But anyway. Yeah.
No one's got a crystal ball. Let's be honest.
But some people have got a gift of building software and listening and moving fast, I think.
Yeah.
And not being questioning themselves. I think one of the issues I've had in the past is I've always never believed that I had good software. I felt like we were an ugly duckling. So, all my competitors are billion-dollar companies, right? They're all funded, spend more money. Like I heard the other day, I think Shopify spends something like $500 million a year in marketing. Well, I've been 1/100th of that, right? Like it's just crazy. And so I can't compete at that level. So I have to compete on content. I have to compete on finding each client one-to-one and showcasing what I've done. And I think there's lots of opportunity for everyone to do that and not second guess yourself.
But in the end, capital is only one resource. We have a number of other resources, yeah. So you just got to be what we have is the box we're in, and we've got to make it work. So
and how do you stand out against the noise?
Yeah, no one buys features. That's the first thing I'll say to people. No one buys features. Everyone buys relationships.
Yeah.
And outcomes, obviously. Though, can I trust these guys to do what they say they're going to do? And that's a hard bit in the States because they're like, where do you live, Sam? I go, well, I've moved back to Australia. Oh. Here, well, my team. Oh. So you're not going to come and visit us? No. Okay. Some people are okay with that. But
others want their relationship, Really good to connect, Sam. Thanks for joining us, DevReady Podcast. Let's stay in touch because it's a great story, great from where you've come to where you are now. It's really good to hear the success that you're at in what you've carved out in your own path, your own journey, without any VC capital. There is another way.
There's some people that have done a lot better.
We can always compare, but we just got to appreciate what we've created in our own world. Right? Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.